gas ourselves up, but we short on breath. Talking about we eating, but who we really cooking. Dreaming about greens, but ain't nobody looking. No land, no acres, no seeds in the ground. When the hunger hits, who's gonna be around? We starving every day, and it just ain't the food. Feeding the hood garbage, got 'em acting a fool. We flossing with rides, stunting with chains, but these bars we spitting just bring more pain. We guilty as hell, preaching all these lies, selling debt to the kids, and we acting surprised. We commercialize the pain, broadcast the grief, tell the youth to hustle, but hide the beef. We glorify the trap, invite them to the flames, just like Reagan brought the crack on planes. Back in the 80s when the streets got soaked, my people, my brothers, all got choked. Reagan said no trades, but we know the deal. He left us in the dirt, man, that shit was real. I was just a shorty watching it unfold, old enough to see how we got sold. War on drugs, but it was war on us. Cops on our necks, no love, no trust. They labeled us thugs, beast on the block, made us kiss the pavement while they cleaned our clock. Prison became business thanks to Reagan's game. Free labor is the truth in America's name. Slavery's dead, man. That's just a word. Read the 13th Amendment, it's still absurd. They lock us in cages, serving time for life. Double digits for wisdom, cutting sharp like a knife. I'm here to say, the chains in the air, it's time we break free, start showing we care. No more flexing for nothing, no more selling out. It's time to ride.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. You already know how I do this. Independent music is how I start my podcast. And this morning I got Don Tripp, Chances of Rain, and we'll be right back right after this.
Yeah. The scars ain't healed yet. I lost some people, I'm still attached. Guess a nigga just built solid under all this pressure, I still ain't cracked. Soon as I stepped a foot in hell, the devil yelled, nigga, welcome back. Obviously, I'm a one-to-one. No wonder why I never met my match. Life too short, I second that. The more time I spend, the less I have. Fell asleep in my barber's chair, I swear that's the most rest I had. Every morning I wake up, check my bank accounts, and then check my stash. I'm preparing for a rainy day, ain't no umbrella gon' protect my ass. I be damn, when it rains it pours. Karma's real, I can't blame a soul. I ain't never been afraid to get it out the mud, bitch, I brought a change of clothes. Where I'm from is a danger zone. Lucky me, I'm still hanging on. I know some niggas in their 40s seeking unemployment, still can't leave the game alone. On the highway to hell, Jesus take the wheel, praying you can bring us home. Riding with the fire, even when I'm flying, every day is Game of Thrones. Then I brought an extra sitting around mad, that's if anything go wrong. Shooting for the stars, got my old dogs wishing they had came along. Bad news, that ship sailed a long time ago and I ain't seen it since. Came a long way, got a long way left to go, I can't be content. Can't forgive what I can't forget, it's a new year but I ain't changing shit. If I ain't fuck with you, I still don't and I never will. Fuck you think this is? No tears on my handkerchief, my food for thought, man, stain your dish. Shooting for the stars, I ain't missed a shot, bitch, I got aim assist. If and when the going ever gets tough, it's back to the basics. I can make it through the pain, cause my wife and kids in my first aid kit. Scars ain't healed yet, I lost some people, I'm still attached. I guess a nigga just built solid under all the pressure, I still ain't cracked. Soon as I stepped a foot in hell, the devil yelled, nigga, welcome back. Obviously, I'm a one-to-one, no wonder why I never met my match. Life too short, I second that. The more time I spend, the less I have. Fell asleep in my barber's chair, I swear that's the most rest I had. Every morning I wake up, check my bank account and then check my stash. I'm preparing for a rainy day, ain't no umbrella gon' protect our ass. Long little pill. I'm preparing for a rainy day, ain't no umbrella gon' protect. Long little pill.
Chance of Rain. I wanted this morning to start with the documentary. I want to just play about like 8-10 minutes of it. But this is from 1967. And one of the things that I do like to talk about is how we got in this predicament, right? And if you don't know our history, that is part of the reason why we keep on repeating it. So I want to go all the way back to 1967 in this documentary, Welfare Over Fathers. I know a lot of people don't want to connect the dots, but I really do believe that's how we get to the solution of, that's why I'm going to talk about Heritage Park today, because before it was Heritage Park, it was the Sumner Projects. Then came the Holloman lawsuit. Then came the consent decree. Then came Heritage Park, and now they want to get rid of that. Like, how is that not showing Northside residents that we like literally have a problem? And the people that are trying to solve the problem are the problem. Minneapolis government. So I just don't really see why like people cannot connect the dots. But I really do believe like if you educate people, they will see it. So let me show this 1967 documentary, Welfare Over Fathers.
I'm gonna save my dough. Get away from here. I ain't gonna come back no more.
Welfare mothers, and the children too, feel that they are on a dead-end street. That the way things are, there's not enough money and no way to hold up your head. And so they've begun what a...
Hold on a minute. Let's stop sharing for a minute. This documentary back up. And see if it plays.
Sounds to a welfare revolt.
You look on TV and you see that poor little kid from another nation. Oh, he looks so pitiful. I feel so sorry for him. But I can't overlook the fact that we have poor little kids in this nation.
Mrs. Etta Horn is a leader of the welfare rights movement. Their principle and their overwhelming complaint is that there simply is not enough money to raise a family, and then that it's given in a self-defeating and self-perpetuating way, that it degrades the people who receive it.
I have children. I look in my kids' face and I think, am I going to really prove to them where it starts at? You know, they're always screaming about delinquents. American Welfare Department makes delinquents.
There is an evil system around.
Martin Luther King believes that welfare is part of that system, damaging to black and white alike.
Will not get right until this evil system is removed, because as I have listened and as I've looked and as I've lived in the ghetto, I've seen what this evil system has done to my brothers and my sisters. I've seen how it has left little children with clouds of inferiority formed in their little mental sky. I've seen how this evil system has transformed nice, decent young women into prostitutes. I've seen how this system has transformed nice, decent young men into dope addicts trying to escape the ugliness of their daily lives.
Maria Ortiz and her children, Hilda, Juanita, Antonio, Pedro, in their New York apartment. Mrs. Ortiz gets her welfare check under the Aid for Dependent Children program. It comes to about $117 every 2 weeks, about $3,000 a year. Not enough to pay the rent, feed and clothe the kids, and provide the diet that the doctor has told Mrs. Ortiz she needs.
But one thing that I really do want to go back to, if you look at how the government wanted women to be able to, I don't know, that they needed the government more than the kids needed the father. And this is crazy because people never like to talk about the connecting dots of why society and households are the way that they are, because we allow the government to play a big ass part of our lives, and they shouldn't. Yes, sometimes maybe there needs to be a helping hand, but not a hand that's always there. Because when is it that we're going to become self-sufficient and not so much care about or worry about like government benefits, or when we can do it ourselves? That's the one thing that I cannot understand, of like, people would rather get the handout from the government than be self-sufficient. And the crazy part is, you have men, especially black men in our community, right, that call themselves made men, self-made men. How are you self-made if you're doing it with a grant? How are you doing it? How are you self-made? Like, the government allowed you to be where you're at. That's why I look at like Nikema and them crazy as hell, because the government, even Michelle Gross, y'all profit off of black pain, black trauma. And that's the one thing that like I can never understand, of like how organizations in black churches, the pastors and executive directors, prosper, but not the people that they're supposed to be taking care of. Because we're the ones that keep on getting screwed. And nobody wants to hold their black leaders accountable. Nobody. I'm going to be straight up. When it comes time to hold people accountable, people dodge out. They fade away. Or they join that team. They get money. That's what I will never understand. Like, when will people actually just stand up to the truth for free? Because the people that are lying to you are getting paid to lie to you. They're getting paid to spin you a narrative. They're not paid to give you the truth. Why don't people ever see that? So when they say the school to prison pipeline, that's very real. But yet people don't want to look at it, because some of these people are not in that predicament, so it doesn't affect them. And what, out of sight, out of mind. Look at how bad urban America has gotten. You look at Chicago, Detroit, New York, Philadelphia, Minneapolis, Miami, New Orleans. I mean, some of them are a little bit better than others. But when you look at the impoverished areas, that really, where does the money go? We shouldn't have harm reduction needles all over the fucking place. Shouldn't see burnt tinfoil all over. Like, that's what's wild to me, of like, why don't we stand up? Why don't we, the people, say enough is enough? Why don't we? Because nobody else is going to do it. If we're waiting for the government, or if we're waiting for Donald Trump, if we're waiting for the GOP, because we already know that the DFL isn't going to do anything, because they're dirty fucking liars. That's the one thing that I will say, that from the 1960s that people really need to pay heed to, is what Malcolm X said. The biggest enemy of the black community is the white liberal. Is the white liberal. And yet, who do black people go to each and every damn time? To the white liberal. It makes no sense to me, of like, but hard heads make for a soft ass. And that's why we're in the predicament that we're in, is because a lot of our parents or, family members would rather, they wanted to prosper in their lives, but not the rest of the community. And that's why the community looks the way that it does.
Another child is on the way, but the father of her children has deserted her. The fact that governs everything else in Mrs. Ortiz's life is money, or the lack of it. Her inability to give her children the things they need.
Terra is the IT painkiller. Remote monitoring and management, remote access, help desk and ticketing.
But Mrs. Ortiz is comparatively fortunate. She lives in New York, which has one of the highest welfare standards in the country. Some places, Mississippi and some other southern states in particular, keep welfare recipients at the edge of starvation. 30 cents a day for each child in some areas, 50 cents a day in others. In those last days before the welfare check arrives, the children subsist on what their mother bought 2 weeks previously, mainly cereal, sometimes potatoes. Mrs. Ortiz, with 4 children and a 5th on the way, is probably beyond the point of marriage. The men she meets rarely earn more than $80 a week. If she marries, her welfare check would most likely be cut off. The men cannot support her, and therefore they cannot marry her. At age 20, she may already be permanently consigned to the welfare rolls. The problems of the Ortizes are similar to those of welfare families in other cities. Los Angeles, Denver, Chicago, Detroit.
I have never received my check on time. Now, they say they put them out, but now like yesterday, it was supposed to be here yesterday, and it didn't arrive, and I'm waiting today for it. Now, 2 weeks ago, it was supposed to have been on a Friday, so it didn't arrive. So I waited Saturday until the mailman went by, still no check. So I called down there for an emergency order like they told me to. There is no such thing as emergency order on a weekend. So in other words, my children went without food from Friday afternoon, Saturday, Sunday, until Monday afternoon at 2 o'clock.
Mrs. Jane Wilson is a Detroit welfare mother. The premise of the ADC program is simple: that children without visible means of support must be aided by the state. But to be eligible, a mother and her children must be without a man in the house.
Well, my husband left me.
See, the government wouldn't help if a man was in the house. I want this. You know what's crazy is this is 1967. 1967. And yet people still don't want to have a conversation.
In September. And then I went down to the emergency shelter, welfare shelter. And then I had to go through the welfare, fill out all these papers, drag all 5 kids on the bus, go down there, sit there and wait for 3-4 hours until they come around to you. I felt like the lowest thing on earth when I went to the welfare. I felt like they were all better than me, that they could walk all over me, which I got down on my hands and knees to them and begged them for coats and boots for these children at wintertime. I actually got down on my hands and knees, and you can ask anybody down at that office. I actually got down on my hands and knees and begged them. And you know what? And when I went down there, sure, they gave me the coats and boots. Sure, after you get down on your hands and knees and you beg, that's the only way you're going to get anything from the welfare. And to this day, I have never gotten anything from the welfare for myself.
Breakfast in the home of Carol King a Cleveland welfare mother with 9 children.
Damn.
On the days before the welfare check arrives, there is half an orange for each child.
Not mean, like, niggas was really getting it out the mud. Like, motherfuckers basically started from nothing. And if you look back all the way from slavery, when they Emancipation Proclamation, they never, this is the one thing, because 40 acres and a mule did happen. That's real, but it was snatched. It was snatched from black people. And then what they did, see, that's what people don't want to talk about as history, is that there was a lot of slave owners who were paid $300 per head. $300. Like, why doesn't, that's the one crazy thing to me is like, so when I look at, other populations and I see that they don't have to pay taxes, they don't have to do this, they get to do that. And it's like, wait, hold up. Y'all have literally traumatized a whole community, and not even just in one state. It goes state to state. It goes state to state, because I'll tell you right now, even with, like, I'm about to show you next with Claude Anderson, and we're talking about that this is 20 years ago. A lot of these are old. Dr. Claude Anderson that I'm about to show you is back from the 80s and 90s. This is from the 60s. And what has changed? Not a goddamn thing. Not a goddamn thing. Immigrants have maybe moved up because they're replacing a whole population. The poor people, the poor whites, the poor blacks, because I'll tell you like this, we never had a level playing field, the blacks, because anytime that we were prospering, Black Wall Street, Lake Lanier, all the bloody summers, of just trying to be seen as equals, not seen as above anybody else, but just seen as equals. That's what the one thing that I can never understand is like, and it's really, especially lately, it's been like kind of conflicting with me, because on one side of my mom's side of the family, I had somebody who was signer of the Declaration of Independence. He had slaves, that's on my mom's side. She's white. And then on my dad's side, we were enslaved. We were enslaved. We weren't even looked at as people. We were seen as property. And that's to be seen as what people can, like your phones or your iPads, to go from property to actually having rights and freedoms, and then still to this day cannot be seen as equals. That to me is crazy. But yet we'll argue and fight about some other shit that really don't matter instead of talking about the shit that does. And that's the one thing that I can never understand is like, well, I mean, I can, but there's so much. And a lot of people will say it's a conspiracy theory instead of actually looking at it and doing the homework and doing the research. That's one thing that even when I was watching that MK Ultra Congress hearing, and there was a lot of scientists or whatever you want to call them that still believe those programs are going on today. And it's like, damn, if they believe that, why do they believe that? And some of them did go into it, and I'm like, damn, what's crazy to me is why doesn't the rest of America see that? Why doesn't the rest of America see that? Because you have niggas that are so invested into these Democratic candidates and this DFL party, and all they do is get fucked in the ass with no Vaseline. With none, they get fucked over. They get tokens. We've got token holidays. We've got token grants to the black churches, to the nonprofits. Does that really help the black community as a whole? No, because we still have, that's the one crazy thing that I want people to look at, right? Because even as we're talking about, money, I want people to think about, look what's going on over in St. Paul, right? In August, I think it's August 3rd, they're going to start evicting the encampments. Here's my question. All the money Since George Floyd that's gone to St. Paul and Minneapolis for the homelessness problem, why have we not solved homelessness? I really want to fucking ask that. Because if you look at how much money has been given to nonprofits, to churches, to city entities, and we're still combating the problem. Because this is the one crazy thing that I'm even starting to see a pattern. We go back into the 80s and 90s, right? And I bring this up for a reason. Pluky Duke. I know a lot of people don't remember him. I do. He was a big kingpin back in the 80s. And he's still locked up to this day. Still locked up to this day. Still locked up. And the crazy thing of it is that our own government were allowing people to become the product of their environments. When it came, no matter if it came to drugs, no matter if it came to prostitution, no matter if it came to gambling, the government has always had their hand in it. As long as we get paid, it's all right. You got to look at the weed. Look at the weed. Look at Washington. They have it where you can use certain drugs freely as long as you got that certain amount. You're all right. Like, are we really helping people? Are we just letting it like say, hey, fuck it. We just let it be what it be. Because we're really not helping. We are making more chaos than anything else because there's so much riffraff that you got to get through to actually get to the answer. And it shouldn't be like that. You know, everybody wants to talk about transparency, but that's the one thing we never see is real transparency, because when it comes time to be transparent, they come up with every excuse in the book not to be transparent.
Mrs. King has become involved in the welfare rights movement because she feels she doesn't get enough money to raise her family. She gets less than 80 cents a day for each of her children. The Ohio legislature approves only 3/4 of the amount that the state welfare department felt was a minimum necessity in 1959.
What's the matter?
The rise of ADC recipients in the last 6 years has been particularly dramatic among Negro families in the northern ghettos. Giving aid only when a husband is absent pushes the man out of the house. His presence is an economic hardship, and a whole class of women and children are growing up in the northern ghettos knowing neither husband nor father, only dependence on welfare. Life on welfare means waiting in line for food stamps, as for everything else. After getting her welfare check each month, Mrs. King's first stop is a food stamp center in the heart of Huff, Cleveland's Negro ghetto. She pays $110 for $158 worth of food stamps, which must be spent only on food. The idea is that the state guides the spending of welfare mothers, and the women resent the implicit moral judgment that they don't have the capacity to care properly for their children.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name.
That's crazy. And I'll never understand how people cannot, but I think it's designed that way for people to be ignorant and dumbfounded, and I guess not dumbfounded or whatever, but tagged like stupid. Ignorance is bliss. That's one thing that I'm learning as time goes on. That ignorance is bliss, because as long as niggas are ignorant, they don't care. You know what I'm saying? So, but let's get back to Dr. Claude Anderson, and let's talk about solutions. So we're going to talk about part 2 of Blocked Opportunities. It's about 7 minutes long.
Hi, welcome again to my YouTube channel, Connecting the Dots. I'm Dr. Claude Anderson, your host. I'm going to pick up now on part 2 of what are devices that were used to constrain and to maintain the racial status quo in America. Now, I left where I left off after about, I don't know how many I went through, but let's pick up about at least 3 or 4 more of these points. because there are so many I can't get through all of them in 2 or 3 parts. But let's pick up another one. Another common way they try to maintain the status quo in black folk is to direct black folk into doing and involved in symbolic, insignificant, wheel spinning kind of activities that leads to nothing. That can be everything from marches, just to march and express your displeasure, or protest marches where there's no tangible goal that's been spelled out, where you got millions of people marching, and you say, marching for what? There's no answer. And so black folk engage in all these symbolic issues, or for instance, they can even march because of something that occurred 20 years ago, and they marched because somebody was shot or killed or beaten. And you say, what's the goal? Nobody knows, but they're engaged in it. But the worst part about it that they try to direct you into is try to get black folk engaged in things that are non-definable, like in marches, like particularly the civil rights movement, like marching for equality. You ask, what is equality? What is equality? How do you determine when you got equality? What are you looking for in equality? And when white folks in the old days, in civil rights days, I can recall very distinctly when I was over education in the state of Florida, you ask white people, say, what do you people want? And black folk would say, we want equality. What else do you want? We want equal opportunity. What else do you want? We want to be somebody. And so what white folk was trying to say, okay, since we got the power and wealth, y'all proclaim that we are superior, we're going to grant you everything you ask for. Abracadabra, make all black folk equal. Abracadabra, give them equal opportunity. Abracadabra, make them equal to whites. Now get the hell out of here. You got what you need. Don't come back. They didn't give you anything because you see, you didn't ask for anything that was tangible and measurable. You didn't say, I want this. I want to know something that I can measure and I can take to the bank, that I can have in my hands and hold, and that I can have a value in, because they always trick us to get involved in equality and equal opportunity. And what they fail to tell you is that you live in a race-based society. You cannot, in theory and practice, get equality and equal opportunity in a race-based society. The whole point of racism, of being in a race is a contest. It's when people engaging in a competitive activity, whether it's a horse race, a bicycle race, an automobile race. People are competing, and the whole point in racism is not to create equality. It's the primary point of racism is to create inequality. That's why you go to the horse race, the Kentucky Derby, you line all the horses up together and say, now, when the gun goes off, you horses start running and run around the tracks. When you get to the end, we want to identify the one who comes in first place, or comes in show or place, win, show or place. Now, nobody wants to expect all those horses to come in at the same time. That would be foolish. That defeats the purpose of having a race. It's for everybody to start out equal and come in equal. Can't happen. But unfortunately, our people look for equality and look and say, well, we want to catch up. And so in the race, black folks say, well, if we look for equality and equal opportunity, and we're in a race, let's just run along and look behind us and say, everybody catch up. I'm in front. Y'all need to catch up with me so we can all come in together. It is foolish and it's silly. But every time I hear a black person talking about what they're looking for in terms of race matters, they're looking for equality, equal opportunity. You cannot get equal opportunity and equality in a race-based society. Go for yourself. Get out front, run as fast as you can, and try to get to the finish line as fast as you can, and do not look back and try to pull everybody else along with you. Every other group in America is competing with you. They're competing for the ownership and control of resources, wealth, and power. The greatest power in this nation is wealth power. And if you get out front, get as much wealth as you can, and try to pull as many of your people along, but you cannot all come in at the same time. They said, well, Dr. Anderson, that we believe in socialism. Why would you want to be practicing socialism in a capitalist society? You want to be an island of socialism in a sea of capitalism. Everybody in the world is trying to be capitalistic. Russia used to be practice socialism. So did China. They were communist countries, socialistic. They got away from it. Now some of the most competitive capitalist nations on earth are Russia, China, and even North Korea. Everybody's competing to get ownership and control of wealth and power. Nobody's looking for any equality, equal opportunities, but black folk. But yet, our people still are being taught and encouraged by civil rights organizations and political candidates that look for equality and equal opportunity.
You know what's crazy is he's saying a very valid point that I believe that a lot of people don't want black people to hear. They don't want people to hear. They don't want people to hear that the shit that they're fighting for is a farce, because it doesn't get anywhere. You don't get any accountability. You don't get any justice. You don't get any transparency. So why are we continue to do it? Because clicks, views, and people get paid from grants. They get labels from nonprofits. So why don't people see the bigger picture? And that is because they don't want you to.
No, you tell them, I want to look for self-interest first. Get my people out front, make them come in first, and don't worry about who's going to be behind them in second place and third place. Go for the rope, go for the gold, and cross the rope and get the gold. And that's why I tell black folks, stay away from anything that's that's intangible, that you can't measure and count and take to the bank.
Right.
Go for what you can take to the bank and count and enrich your people with more wealth. We have 1/2 of 1%. We should have enough wealth in our hands that will be equal to our population. We're about 13% of the world, of this country's population. Try to own and control as much value and wealth as you have in your population number. Not only in this country, same thing with African countries. African countries in the same boat. I guess blacks in Africa own about 1/2 of 1% of the wealth, just like we have 1 1/2% of wealth in America. But isn't it sad that collectively, if I tie all the blacks in the world together, between blacks in Africa, blacks in the Caribbean, and black in America, you get about 24% of the world population. And even with 24% of the world's population, to show you how bad it is, what the great disparity is, and the inequality is that with 24% of the population collectively, people of African descent around the world, you still only control 1/2 of 1%.
Right.
So quit trying to be equal to all other people. Try to be independent. Confine your interests and your goals to yourself and your own people.
Right.
Get out ahead in front and run as fast as you can, and don't look back.
You know what's crazy? Because to me, that's not racism. Looking out for your own, making sure that your own is okay. And that's what I really see what is really wrong with the nonprofits and the black churches, because it's more about self than it is about the rest of the community. And if people, I don't understand why, Minnesotans don't call that out. And I think we are going to see that in this upcoming election when it comes to the governor, when it comes to, because to me, the stories that come out is how can people vote for Amy Klobuchar? How can they vote for a Cedric Frazier? How can they vote for a Bobby Joe Champion? Like, we really need to have this discussion, because I can tell you right now is that there is white people that are willing to do more for the black community than the black so-called officials. So I think that is something that we really need to look at. And I want, as I'm going through this, right, this story right here, the Minnesota Promise Act, you're going to hear that the state finally admits that they had errors, right? This is something that nobody ever wants to talk about, but that the state admits that they had problems and they had errors, but yet we don't see no type of accountability. We don't see no type of consequences, nothing. It's like the shit happens and we're just supposed to, just go on your merry little way, but yet people are suffering. And people, what's crazy to me is that people are actually have died over the fraud. People have became homeless, became more even severely mentally ill than what they already were. And yet we're not trying to get any kind of accountability. We're voting in the same type of people. Omar Fattah, Ilhan Omar, Leah Finke. It's like, damn, Aren't y'all getting, see, this is the definition of insanity. Doing something over and over and over again, expecting a different fucking result. And people don't want to see that because they're a part of it. They don't want to be a different individual because then they're not like everybody else. They don't want to be not a part of that group because that group is popularity. That group is we're going to get all the money we can and say we're fighting for the community and we're actually not doing anything.
Tonight, Minnesota's top Republican is demanding the state immediately turn over all records in the $100 million Minnesota Promise Act program. The remarks from House Speaker Lisa Demuth come after the state admitted to 5 investigates it is now clawing back some of your tax dollars that went to businesses we featured. In a statement, Demuth, a candidate for governor, said DEED must release all the information being requested immediately, and those responsible for approving fraudulent grants and stonewalling the truth need to answer for their obstruction. And as we reported yesterday, 5 investigates has requested more than 1,000 applications from the Twin Cities in the Promise Act program. And to date, DEED has turned over 3. Investigative reporter Ryan Race has been covering this story for months, and he's now looking into the nonprofit in charge of most of the vetting for the Promise Act program.
Yeah, Kevin, it's called the Neighborhood Development Center, or NDC. It's a prominent nonprofit in the Twin Cities. They won a big contract from the state to dole out more than $86 million to qualifying small businesses in the metro. And they are raking in millions, despite the problems we have identified. From this office on University Avenue, the nonprofit, the Neighborhood Development Center, has a lot of responsibilities for the Minnesota Promise Act. From the billboards and outreach.
Don't let this opportunity pass you by.
To the critical job of vetting all the small businesses that apply for up to $50,000 in taxpayer-funded promise grants. State law says NDC can keep up to $7 million to run the program and help applicants.
So this isn't meant to be a super complicated grant program. So you're not going to have to write a life story and a narrative about why you're eligible.
But 5 Investigates has uncovered several problems with the program, including a business awarded money that did not even finish the application and another that may not have even been eligible. The state has since confirmed it is clawing back more than $27,000 that went to 2 businesses we investigated.
What does it tell you? It certainly makes me less trustful that the program is working as intended.
DEED, the state agency in charge, says it audits 10% of all grants that NDC approves, meaning most of the responsibility falls on NDC, a practice criticized at a legislative hearing this April.
We need to do better. If we're going to help a nonprofit help other people, it's not always through subgrants.
NDC has not agreed to an interview, but the nonprofit stands by its work. In an email, the director said it will continue to review and strengthen its process, adding it has implemented additional assurance measures, including enhanced eligibility verification procedures. We should know this entire program is now in the hands of the legislative auditor, which announced an audit earlier this spring after our reporting. Late today, NDC told me that, quote, we welcome the work and scrutiny from legislators and others to review how this work is funded and to make sure we can continue to support businesses and organizations in a way that is accountable, transparent, and impactful. And as far as being transparent, we are still waiting for DEED or NDC or anyone, for that matter, to process our data requests so we can continue to vet the applicants that were awarded. So we will.
Yeah, this should be wild to me, right? I'm going to show you their 990 form because these motherfuckers get paid a lot of money. Wow. The president and CEO, he gets almost $300,000. I mean, I want people to look at this. People are actually being paid to do fraudulent, and not just little ass money, not thousands. I'm talking about millions. And yet that's a conversation that we don't want to have. Why? These people get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars on salary. And then the crazy thing I want you to look at, right, is I'm going to go back. Here is, yeah, this shit crazy. So the revenue expenses, assets, liabilities in the millions, in the tens of millions. And yet, look at this shit. Contributions, they $12 million. Program services, that's about 10% of what they do. But look at this shit. 30% goes to wages. Executive compensation is 10%. And then salaries and wages are 27%. Why don't we call this out and look at the audit for any entity? Let's see what they said at an audit. If it's too long, I don't really want to go through it. And that's 45 pages. Independent auditors report opinion. We have audited the company consolidated financial statements of Neighborhood Development Center, Inc., a nonprofit organization, and its affiliates. Yeah. So they were audited. This the one thing of like I don't understand is like we give all this money to nonprofits because it's funny to me how people don't remember this, the 1.1 billion given to nonprofits in Minnesota. Let's get to it. Given to Minnesota nonprofits. Let's see what comes up. Oh yeah, right here. Boom. Minnesota lawmakers gave nonprofits 1.1 billion last year. Will we know if it's well spent? This is the one thing that has always baffled me, right? Is people have pointed out that how much money was fraudulently spent, right? Yeah. Lisa Clemens, 3 million. 3 million. But y'all don't want to talk about that. That's what I never understand. 2 years ago, a state unemployment law judge found a mother's love had misclassified a worker as an independent contractor, which Attorney General Keith Ellison, DFL lawmakers, and the administration of Tim Walz has sought to crack down on because it robs workers of basic protections like workers' compensation insurance, overtime, and unemployment benefits. So even as Deed found that a mother's love misclassified a worker, lawmakers directed Deed to give the nonprofit 3 million. 3 million. A mother's love still has 30 independent contractors, according to Clemens, its executive director. Clemens did not comment on whether she was directed to reclassify her independent contractors as employees after the state review. Mother's Love IRS forms point to other irregularities. The group owns a $360,000 building, a home that was purchased for them in 2022. At the same time, it reported occupancy costs such as utilities, insurance, repairs, and maintenance of $299,000 in 2022, according to its filing. That's a huge number on a $360,000 house. You know, that's like the things that's the one thing you can point out shit and people still be quiet. That we don't ever care about no answers. We don't give a fuck about shit. Right? Nobody, that's why I'd be so tired of even kind of really like dealing with these niggas. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. It's like I don't even want to deal with you fraudulent ass motherfuckers. When it comes to Bobby, when it comes to didn't matter Jerry McAfee, this is the whole reason why I decided not to mess with a whole lot of these motherfucking people because they're dirty. You know, that's the one crazy ass thing to me is that these people have long screwed Minnesotans, doesn't care if it was in Minneapolis, doesn't care if it's in the rural areas. These are the people that continually to screw over Minnesotans and we don't care. That to me is crazy. I'm going to go back into Heritage Park, right? Is that another failure of Minneapolis leadership? Is this a failure of Minneapolis leadership? And even when it comes to our Black leaders, I want people to pay close attention to the Heritage Park story.
Well, the city of Minneapolis is now calling the Heritage Park housing project a crisis.
The Office of Community and Economic Development is asking for $2.5 million in emergency funding. Fox 9's Karen Scullin joining us live now with the urgency of all of this. Karen?
Well, there are a million questions on how we ever got here, but really the big question right now are the people in front of them, the people living at Heritage Park Apartments. There's 686 that need to be moved immediately.
The promise was dignity. The promise was safety.
Mold, mice, holes in rooftops, and more. Councilmember Pearl Warren released this video of the conditions at Heritage Park housing, and it exposed years of neglect and dangerous conditions for residents. Now the city is calling the issue an emergency and a crisis. 686 residents from 212 households need to be moved ASAP because so many issues went unaddressed.
This underinvestment has left the buildings in a state of disrepair to the point where the city has come to the conclusion to provide direct assistance for those currently living at Heritage Park to find new, stable, and safe places to live.
The overall problem with the 400-plus units is so bad the city doesn't even know if they can be saved. The emergency funding would be for Band-Aids on units and cost to move residents. It was said today this was years of neglect and an absolute breakdown of communication and responsibility.
I am definitely trying to understand why did it take little old measly me to come here and sit on this council and be elected for individuals to pay attention to the needs of the residents at Heritage Park. So how was that license issued and instrumented?
So we would receive complaints through 311. We were not conducting proactive rental license inspections at that time. So as we received these complaints, we would go and inspect them and pass the information to the Public Housing Authority as well as to McCormick Barron.
McCormick Barron is the landlord of Heritage Park who points the finger at the city for not being good partners in keeping up the property because they couldn't do it alone. City staff says the Minneapolis Public Housing Authority declined to be present at today's committee meeting. There have been calls for the MPHA director to resign over this situation, but the priority right now is the people.
We have to be mindful that these are humans. These are people who are looking to us to lead. And leading is not fighting. Leading is not politicizing a real life tragedy that is happening to people right now. Leading is certainly not blaming. Leading is taking what has happened and making it better.
That's the one part that I'm going to point out, right? Because this isn't new. I want people to know this is nowhere near new when it comes to Heritage Park, because we have to go all the way back to the Sumner House, to the Sumner projects, and how a lawsuit, Holloman versus Cisneros, that's who was the HUD supervisor at that time, I believe, and had to sue. We had people, I shouldn't say we, people had to sue to get out of there because of the conditions. Nobody ever wants to talk about that. This goes back all the way to 1990. 1990. That's what I don't understand. This is what I do not understand. These problems that have been in Heritage Park have been there for years. This is not new. This is not new at all. Here goes another one. 10 years later, right? So November 2002 and 1992, the Holloman versus Cisneros lawsuit was filed against the city of Minneapolis and the Minneapolis Public Housing Authority, among others, on behalf of a number of families living in public housing or receiving Section 8 vouchers The suit alleged historical patterns of segregation and the placement of public housing on the basis of race and income. It sought more locational choice and improved housing conditions for families of public housing and voucher programs. The settlement of the case resulted in the Holloman consent decree, which committed to the demolition of 770 units in Minneapolis, redevelopment of those in both Minneapolis and suburban communities, relocation assistance, issue of more housing vouchers, and recruitment of property owners to accept vouchers. This report summarizes the progress made towards meeting the requirements of the Holloman consent decree 10 years after the settlement. Family Housing Fund convened Holloman Implementation Group with representatives from all defendant organizations as well as Minnesota Housing Finance Agency, the St. Paul Public Housing Authority, and all 7 metropolitan counties. This group tackled many of the barriers to suburban development by identifying gaps in funding sources and encouraging property owners to participate in the Section 8 housing voucher program. Why doesn't people see that, like, that's the whole problem of why we keep on repeating itself in history, is because not enough people know about the history. We have so many transplants. That's why, to me, I feel like people don't even understand of like what's happened. And to me, that's like fucking like dumb. You know, and I won't understand it. And it even like there's like a big old like fraction, right? I won't even say fraction, but divide in the GOP party in Minnesota, right? Yesterday you had President Donald Trump endorse Mike Lindell, who his running mate is Philip Parrish. And I put a post out because people need to watch the people who are down talking Lindell, because this is the crazy part, right? Because Alex Plash, you've seen Mark York, and like not even just Mark York, Dustin Grage, come out. Even the GOP party, the Republican Party of Minnesota, came out, and it's like, yo, like we're tired. We're tired. We're tired of the same old bullshit. And it's crazy because people really need to look at this and be like, damn, they really do have a problem, because they call all these Kendall Qualls the outsider. He's not no fucking outsider. This nigga has profited off from a nonprofit for years. That's how him and his wife live so good, off the backs of others. Like, and we don't call it out. That's the crazy thing, because they don't call it out or condemn it. You know what they do? They say, "Oh, it's all right." We all do that. We all have the same place. The Republicans and MAGA here in Minnesota have to stand behind Trump's endorsement. I'm like, where is the loyalty? Right? You know, I agree, because they don't want to. They don't want to unite under one candidate, right? Who is, to me, I had a big problem with Lindell. I'll be the first to say I had a problem with him. And the reason why I don't anymore is because the talk I had with Robert and laid it all out to me about the reasons of why they went to Lindell. I get it. And I trust his word. I trust Phil's word. And that's why I went over to the Lindell team. But to see the way that like Lisa DeMuth or Kendall Qualls, why don't y'all debate them? Why Dustin, all you AK, all you niggas want to come out here for Kendall and Lisa, right? If y'all say that they're better candidates, why don't they debate Mike? And their Wilson and Kendall's, I think it's Brian Nicholson, can debate Phil Parrish. But y'all don't want to do that. Instead, you go to social media instead of actually coming in and give the people what they want. Because who is the strongest? Who is the strongest of candidates to do what's right for Minnesota? To do what's right for Minnesotans. Who is the person to do that? Who is the person to do that? I don't know. I guess we'll find out next August. Or not next August, next month. Because primary is not that far away. Primary is not that far away. And that's what people honestly don't get. Is that they don't realize that primary is not that far away. And to me, I feel like this was strategized to do this. It's under a month to primary. Why not do it? There's no money can buy. You know what's crazy is there's no advertisement better than Donald Trump's endorsement. Doesn't matter what any kind of media, none of that. You get a Donald Trump endorsement, it is what it is. I don't like Donald. I'll be honest. I really, really, really don't like him. But I'm tired of the fraud. I'm tired about this immigration shit. I'm tired of this. All of a sudden, men can become women and all this. Like, hey, this is not how I grew up. Hey, but I will be back tomorrow. And I'm going to get up out of here for the day. Really have a lot of stuff to talk about tomorrow. And we really do need to have conversations about. But here you go with Don Tripp. Keep in touch. And I'll see you same time, same place tomorrow.
Yeah. Gorillas don't eat, we feast. Yeah. Dancing on the motherfucking ceiling, bitch, I'm up. I can count it on one hand, all the people I can trust. I've been out here getting this money in case you ain't been keeping up. Niggas bite their hand and feed them, it get hard to keep in touch. Got that pop, 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 pop. Plus 100 more. How about that two-seater with the fully like I'm chopping rope? And I had that traffic passing in and out my mama door. I ain't never worrying about no hoe. Pussy come and go. Anyway, all my babies hungry. I put something on their dinner plate. I go get that foreign money too. I don't discriminate. I've been in the gym every day. I'm trying to trim the weight. I just left the dealership. They're trying to whip me into shape. Sorry, baby, finally I remember. I was serving out the rental. We had potted me for dinner. We was jacking niggas spending since the even swap.